The story begins introducing a phenomena where a mysterious gates forming in the sky all over the world, and increasingly appear as time goes by, but it appears to have no effect on people's health and yet to identify their causes. Han Eugene, our protagonist, who dropped out of school working laborious jobs to support his little brother. On a bright sunny day, as usual, he and the middle-aged couple who owns a small moving company finished loading the client's supplies decided to take a break, where he introduced his little brother who Eugene really loved and proud of. After the break, they then got onto the truck and drove towards their destination. Moments after, the truck startled violently. Eugene got out of the truck to have a look. Just as he opened the door, he shockingly saw a drooling giant monster staring directly at him. In a blink of an eye, the monster unexpectedly charged at Eugene. Eugene quickly ducked and barely dodged the giant monster. Eugene looked up into the sky and saw a red gate appeared and tons of giant winged monsters squeal as they flew out of the red gate. Here we are told these gates turned out to be a portal which connects to another world, known as the dungeons, and monsters poured out into the world through these gates. It was later revealed that these dungeons must be cleared to prevent the gates becoming overpopulated with these monsters. Eugene picked up a wooden stick nearby and charged at the monster, which is currently on top of the truck, seemingly trying to eat his boss. Suddenly, a pair of muscular hands gripped tightly onto the monster's mouth. The pair of hands belonged to the boss's wife. This left everyone speechless. It was later known that people can be awakened, which granting them special abilities. These people are called hunters, who hunt monsters and raid dungeons. Hunter soon became the most important occupation in the world. On the other end, we saw a monster's corpse burning in flames. Bystanders gazed onto a young, tall, handsome man who had purple flames surrounding his hands. This is Eugene's little brother, who later became one of the world's most powerful S-rank hunters. This is Eugene, who widely considered to be a leech, loser, and a scrub, who's been awakened for years, only ended up being a F-rank hunter, the weakest among them all. It all dated back to the infamous gate which appeared in the sky out of nowhere, becoming a portal connecting to what they call dungeons. This caused chaos and altering the functionality of the world. Since then, emerging a brand new occupation, the hunters. The hunters often organize into groups and parties to proceed exploring the menacing and dangerous oubliette, where they can find mana crystals, a rare material that can only be obtained in the dungeons. They come in different shapes and sizes, and some are worth a fortune. Here we introduce the most famous S-ranked hunter in Korea. His name is Han Eugene, who awakened his power only being a high schooler at the time. Eugene lost both of his parents at a young age and lived in poverty growing up. Shortly after awakening, he founded his guild, Abyss, and gained reputation being Korea's youngest guild master. A young and newly awakened hunter named Yumi was interviewed asking if she is also now rich after becoming a hunter. Yumi said not yet, but she will keep it up and hoping to be able to make enough for her young siblings' tuition. Shortly after the show, she was announced dead after suffering fatal wound in her recent dungeon raid. This put reminder to the public. Despite the high rewards, it also come at a high cost. Few days later, many gathered in front of dungeon entrance, including Eugene. A hunter wearing a red jacket approached Eugene, calling him a leech and a parasite that sucks out other people's life, being the sole survivor in many raid wipes, and even his brother abandoned him. This made Eugene furious. He grabbed the collar of the hunter, told him to shut up, and don't bring that damn jackass into this. Eugene didn't care if people ridiculed him, but for some reason, he gets extremely frustrated and angry when people bring up his brother. How can AF-ranked hunter win a fight with a D-ranked hunter? Eugene was kicked, picked up and then threw to the ground. Emotions like anger, frustration, wronged appeared but nowhere to release. After all, they are not all wrong. An elderly hunter came over comforting Eugene and casted a spell at Eugene which helped to strengthening his bones. Eugene smiled and appreciated the help, holding the elderly hunter's hand and quietly casted a spell. The elderly hunter turned around and smacked the red jacket hunter on the back of his head, and told him to stop bullying Eugene. A cyan-colored aura appeared in Eugene's hand. Then, limb sequel has been influenced appeared. This skill is the reason why Eugene always survive. Upon entering the dungeon, Bats-like creatures swirled towards the party. Everyone quickly got into their positions, tank in the front protecting mage and healer, while swordsmen find opportunity to finish off what's remaining. The party quickly advancing through the dungeon, as they reminded themselves how terrifying these creatures used to be, but now, they are piece of cake. The creature's body quickly faded, and slowly turned into a mana crystal. Fulfilled with joy after picking up their mana crystal, they quickly analyzed it to be a D-grade mana crystal that is worth a few $1,000. Eugene on the other side was putting great effort trying to mine the small mana crystals fused onto the nearby walls. He was reminded that he had to turn in 80% as commission, even though he only gotten a scrap of a crystal. The Red Jacket Hunter also threatened Eugene to strip him naked and tie him onto a pole if Eugene dared to steal any crystal. There's nothing Eugene could have done, he's AF rank hunter after all. He turned back and kept mining while started singing. The song reminded him of his past, and a flashback brought us back to the time where his brother first awakened. Eugene was drafted to the military when his little brother founded his guild. The two brothers gradually lost contact, and the kinship seemed to fade away as time went by. This sparked in Eugene's heart hoping to be awakened, so he can once again be with his little brother. A broker scammed all Eugene's life saving, but Eugene eventually awakened. Only to be a mere weak F-classed hunter. Eugene was ridiculed, and bashed by everyone and heavy debt on his shoulders. After seeking help to his little brother Yu-hyun, but what he got was cold-blooded words. Even when the time when Eugene broke his legs during a dungeon raid, Yu-hyun refused to lend his healer to Eugene, telling him stop entering dungeons. Everyone saying Eugene is just an older brother who mooch off his younger brother. Eugene got a unique skill during his awakening, allowing him to benefit from others. Every time Eugene say a key word to people surround him, he can cast a skill, giving the target a small buff. But that's not the real reason how Eugene is able to stay alive and everyone else die in a dungeon wipe. The real reason is he will gains an effect obtaining twice its strength from the person he cast his spell to. For this effect to be active, there must be one condition. After seeing the skill being activated, Eugene panicked and limped his way towards the inner dungeon, wondering what happened to the party members. Eugene then explains for the skill to be successfully activated, he will gain twice the stats based on the buffed target. This skill saved Eugene countless times. But the core condition for this skill to occur is the target has to die. In front of Eugene, there's a pile of red. As he followed the trace, he saw Mr. Lim's body, lying on the ground, cold, and not moving. Beside Mr. Lim, lies the other party members. Eugene heard a loud scream behind him. He turns back and saw a three-headed creature biting onto the Red Jacket Hunter on his last gasp, talking vaguely, blaming Eugene was his last words, then blood spilled everywhere, combining with sound of bone crunching. Eugene was in shock, but he recognizes the creature. It's the Dragon King of Poison and Curse Lecheetahs. A powerful creature that have never be slain or beaten. Which thought to be impossible to beat. A creature that should never be in a D-class dungeon. Why is it here? In the underlying deep part of the dungeon, after seeing the corpse of his fellow party member, Eugene came into contact with a first-grade Dragon King Lecheetahs. A powerful and undefeated creature that should only exist in the highest level dungeons. Although what he saw shocked Eugene, there was no time to think, as Lecheetahs bite towards Eugene with his enormous and bloody mouth. Eugene quickly enhanced his legs. Using Mr. Lim's ability, which is now temporarily transferred to Eugene, where Eugene can use double the power. Eugene quickly sprinted away, running as fast as he could, trying to get away from Lecheetahs. Eugene dashed towards a nearby tunnel, trying to find a place where Lecheetahs cannot reach him. Seconds later, Lecheetahs swung his giant tail whipping through the tunnel. This left Eugene stunned as it was a dead end and nowhere to run. Lecheetahs then strikes for the second time. No time to process. Subconsciously, Eugene tried to block with both of his hands, but the dragon's fierce attack mercilessly knocked Eugene high up in the air, fell heavily onto the ground meters away. Eugene is hurt, his bones are trembling, obliterating pain ran through his body, shivering as he uncontrollably spits out a mouthful of blood. Eugene realizes even with Mr. Lim's ability, the disparity in power is superabundant. A very fragmented memory suddenly flashed in Eugene's head. It was Mr. Lim's memory of moments before his death. This was not a fair fight, it was a slaughter. As Eugene witnessed every single one of his party members killed one by one, sweat dripping down from his head. As his heartbeat rises, Eugene breathed heavily, a chilling feeling running up his spine. As his ability started to wear off, he was frozen in place and unable to move his legs. Lachitas approaches slowly, seemingly to play with his prey, unable to escape, hopeless, as Eugene lies on the ground, squeezing his eyes shut, ready to accept his destiny. All of a sudden, he heard a large explosion. Someone picked up Eugene from the ground. His shoulders are broad, had a strong figure, his eyes are bright as stars glowing cold and dark under his brows. He stood tall and strong like an undeviating sword. It was Yu Hyun, Eugene's little brother. Questioning why Yu Hyun was here, only being told to stay back. Lachitas groaned in rage staring down at Yu Hyun. Yu Hyun quickly cast his ability, and thousands of blue leaves appeared. Yu Hyun used the leaves to quickly dash towards Lachitas. As he waves his hand, a burst of purple flames accompanied his hand, which he then used to enchant his sword and thrust onto Lachitas' head. Lachitas screamed in agony. Eugene was amazed by the power of a true S-ranked hunter. Shortly after, Lachitas opened his mouth and spit out a large pile of green venom toward Yu Hyun. Yu Hyun quickly turned back and warned Eugene about the poisonous venom. Yu Hyun dashed sideways to dodge the venom, but the venom ended up splashing toward Eugene. Without hesitation, Yu Hyun rushed in front of Eugene, activated his second skill, and blocked the venom with his sword. Unfortunately, a few drops of venom landed on his clothes, eroding his clothes and skin. Not only that, but Yu Hyun's sword was also corroded. The pain did now daze him, as Yu Hyun charged at Lachitas again, striking fearlessly. Eugene yelled his little brother's name, unable to comprehend why is his little brother here. The reply he got broke his heart once again. Eugene sighed and laughed at himself disparagingly, not knowing what he was expecting. Was he expecting his little brother to be here to save him? Eugene tiredly lifted both of his legs and limped towards Lachitas while summoning his weapon. He detoured towards the back side of Lachitas and stabbed Lachitas in the feet with all his strength. Lachitas turned his head and was confused. Eugene decided to give up. He wants to end his life, and no longer be the deadweight that everyone calls him. Asking himself what went wrong in his life, maybe his death is better for everyone. He tightly shut his eyes, standing tall, feeling determined and waiting for his fate as Lachitas bite towards him. Yu Hyun rushed towards Eugene, feeling anxious, dwelling on what will happen next. Unshakingly charged at Lachitas, a massive explosion occurred and blood started dripping down. Eugene looked in front of him in horror. Lying on his side was his little brother's body, covered with blood and fangs sticking out his body. He questioned himself again. What went wrong in his life?